Good evening and welcome to Around the Lake. This is our weekly news show put together by the staff of the Ithaca Times and the Finger Lakes community newspapers. With me tonight are Michael Nocella from the Ithaca Times, Bill Chaisson, editor of the Ithaca Times, Chris Hooker, who is our sports editor, from the Finger Lakes community newspapers and the Ithaca Times, and I'm Glynis Hart. I am the editor of the Finger Lakes community newspapers. So in news this week in Ithaca, the chain works, and Mike, that was your story. Tell us
Chainworks,
about
yeah.
it.
So for those who don't know, the Chainworks District is a project that hopes to take the Emerson Power Transmission, which is the huge industrial site that sits up on South Hill, and they are trying to change it from an industrial site, or it's in a defunct industrial site now, to a mixed use of residential, commercial, still some industrial manufacturing aspects, and I said commercial, residential.
That's it. Live, work, and play.
Live, work, and play. So this has been kind of in the works for a year, almost 2 years now.
Above board, yeah.
Above board, just kind of spitballing, but now they're really trying to gain some momentum in terms of planning since the property spans both the town and the city. Creating zoning and planning for this project is uncharted territory for both the city and town.
Right.
So that's been a tricky process, and now just 2 weeks ago, they kind of came with the environmental findings, or at least the beginning of what they're starting to see. There's been a lot of environmental studies throughout the years. I think it started in the 1970s, and now they're kind of looking at the historical findings and doing their own additional due diligence, because to take it from an industrial site to a mixed use, there's going to be things that maybe were found before, but now are more relevant because it'd be for different uses.
Right.
Yeah, they have a total of 934 places on that parcel where they've tested the water, groundwater, or the soil.
Right.
And then in addition to that, they've taken chips of the cement from the inside of the plant and soil gas samples above and beyond the 934. So
Right,
it's
and I
a
think
huge amount of data.
Their engineers so far have identified 18 spots, which they are going to even delve into more to see kind of what exactly is going on there. And so far, they haven't found anything that they're overly concerned with.
Yeah, is there anything that jumps out at people like asbestos or something?
Well, they found
They
all.
haven't mentioned asbestos,
Yeah, asbestos isn't one of the things they've mentioned.
which is surprising.
They've cyanide, some petroleum product,
Barium,
Right.
trichloroethylene.
or TCE.
Yeah.
And so they found all of those on the site, but the level to which they found it, they haven't been overly concerned with yet. But that's still something they're looking into.
Maybe you can just pour another layer of concrete on top of it or something.
No, it's more like they take the stuff out if the concentration is high enough. They actually take the soil somewhere else and contain it.
Yep,
Right,
or there's
okay.
a method called in situ, where they will inject a different kind of chemical into a soil or a concrete area to combat what's already there and
Neutralize it.
Yeah.
kind of neutralize it.
Did you get to walk around in there and see what the space is like?
You know, it's
Sort
funny,
of.
those security guards at Emerson take their job very seriously. It's
they
two
do.
guys.
Or you scofflaws
No,
out
Actually,
there.
no, you know
no
what?
pesky reporters prowling around the site.
It's funny, I was actually surprised with how little the security guards knew about this upcoming project. They're like, why are you here and what's going on? They're like, oh, that would be a great idea. It would give me something to actually
Guard.
He's
Right.
like, it was this really funny guy. He probably said some stuff that he didn't know I was going to later say on a TV show, but he's like, I don't even know what I'm doing with most of my day. No one comes around here, and there's really not much going on the site, so that was pretty funny.
It's a huge site. I mean,
Yep,
what is it?
95 acres
95
and
acres,
over 800,000 square foot of
Building.
building.
But it could do a lot for Ithaca's need for housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And manufacturing too, and so
I mean, yeah.
they
and-
want to. It's a whole. The whole thing with the city and the town is that they made a PUD in the city? No.
Yeah, city is the planning Was it?
Yeah,
Land
one's a
use
PUD
development.
and one's a
Right.
PDZ.
Yep.
Plan-
And the town and the city
Plan
have
development
these
zone.
mixed-use special overlay variances so that you can have businesses and residences and manufacturing all in one zone.
Right.
And that's a new direction for the city and the town.
Yeah, I mean, environmental concerns aside, I think if this moves forward, I think it's a really neat project and something for Ithacans to look forward to just on a conceptual level. Obviously, we'll see.
Especially because we're going to be losing parking. So.
Great
So-
segue.
Well, I don't know if we'll be losing parking, but it's
Losing
definitely going to
parking.
become more expensive.
Most
What's
people
going on with
regarded
parking?
it as a
we've
loss.
you said there's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
Mr. Frank Nagy, who is the director of parking in the city, and I think he came on board about 14 months ago, and they brought him in from a private sector. I think he was working elsewhere in New York State before this, and they essentially brought him into the city to put in new parking initiatives that'll help the city collect dollars that they weren't collecting before, figure out flaws in their parking regulations and their parking garages. And
Well, the
he's-
big flaw right now is that it costs the city money to have parking.
Yeah.
It costs
they were
them a lot
losing
of money.
$2 million a year on those parking garages.
Yeah.
Which Mr. Nagy is doing something about.
He's going to
Now-
reverse it,
now-
he hopes.
Now that you can't just wait until it's 8 o'clock and then pull out of the parking garage
Right.
for free.
He wants to make $2 million a year on all of the parking. And he's going to do that with, he's already changed some of the regulations in the parking garages, but he also is going to, I guess, have it be barely any time where it's going to be free, and probably raise the rates. But more to the point, though, he is going to put in pay stations and take down all the parking meters, because
Oh.
they put in a pilot pay station at the lot that the city just kind of transferred over to the IURA last week. They're going to make way for a hotel, so that is going to go away. But they use what they call the Miller lot or the mayor's lot as the pilot program for this thing, and they
Oh, okay.
doubled the amount of revenue that lot took
Yeah.
in
The
as soon
pay-
as they put the pay station in.
The pay stations I'm actually looking
Right.
forward to. I think
Yeah.
the majority of my tickets that I've got throughout my life
Because you didn't have
is
change.
because I didn't have quarters on me.
Yeah.
I have no problem,
Oh.
paying $1.25 to park for
Right.
such time. It's just sometimes I don't have quarters on me. So if I can just swipe my Visa to park somewhere where I need to go to avoid a $25 ticket and then probably late charges and not paying that $25
Right.
ticket, I'm more than happy to do so. So that's the way Frank explained it to me, is that the majority of fund, like Bill said, will come from getting those people who just don't have quarters on them.
Right now, they actually make more money collecting fines from people who didn't pay their parking meters than they do get from the meters themselves. So,
Yeah.
so so the pay station, once you put in
I
a pay
know, because
station,
they're after me.
you speak for a lot of people. So the pay station, you can pay with a credit card, bills, or coins. And once you start using the pay stations, it will send you a text.
There's like a pound of flesh
Right, yeah, I think
station
even- and then-
where you can just like leave a part of yourself.
Only in College
Was it
Town.
like one of those?
Yeah.
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 Okay. In College Town.
And that, yeah,
All right.
different flesh is best for like different seasons and everything. It's very complicated, but that was a whole other show. The thing is like this machine's going to send you a text when your meter's running down.
Oh.
So, and you don't have to go out there and
That
put more
works.
money in.
Yeah.
You can just give it another $3 off your credit card from right where you're
Right.
standing.
I think they already have that going on up at Cornell, right? They have the app.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're going to start, the first 10 stations will, the bids are coming in on November 20th, and then they hope to have them installed in the spring.
Right.
And so there'll be 10 stations up in College Town first.
And I think that's also when they're getting the last exit verifier for the parking garage.
Oh, right.
They added 2, and now they're waiting for the third. So all this time for the last how many years the city wasn't charging people coming
To
out
leave.
to
Right.
leave the parking garage. They got the one piece of it and then just didn't get the.
It was the opposite of the Hotel California.
Right.
You could check out anytime you want. And you could leave whenever you want.
You
You just left.
Right. So in sports this week, we had some of our teams went to the States. Chris, how did that go?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool weekend. Two teams from Lansing, the boys and the girls soccer team, were in states, and Ithaca High School was in states. So we had three area teams in the biggest tournament of the year, which is
Ithaca was a heartbreaker, right? They lost 2-1, Fairport.
yeah, they lost 2-1. But I mean, the real heartbreaker was the Lansing boys game. That
Right.
was crazy.
Their season ended for the second time.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we talked about, like, I think last time or 2 times ago, there was kind of some controversy about them even getting in the tournament in the first place.
Right.
And then, so what ended up happening was they, Elmira Notre Dame decided to just withdraw from the tournament because of this eligibility issue. So Lansing gets in, they win the first round, and in the second round, they're up 1-0 with 11 seconds left to advance to the state championship. And this kid from Rhinebeck scores a goal in the 11 seconds left of a free kick, sends it to overtime, and then they win.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like they were 11
Wow.
seconds away from going to the state title.
Movie of the week.
Yeah, so you were going to see
Yeah.
in the photo of
In the photo, they look a
they
little
look
sad.
a little bummed out because
Yeah.
they were 11 seconds from going to the state title. But so that was too bad. But it's cool they got to go. I mean, they weren't even supposed to be there in the first place. So
How about the girls? How did the girls?
the girls went all the way to the state title, and then they lost 1-0 to Halden, which is a school that beat them last year in the state semifinal. So they're 0-2 against this team in the state tournament, which is disappointing. But I was talking to the girls' coach. His name's Eric Stickle, and he was just saying, yeah, it stinks that we lost the state title. It stinks that we lost it in the Final Four last year. But to go to back-to-back state Final Fours is pretty amazing. It's the best Lansing's ever done in girls soccer. And so while they didn't get to bring home the state title and win their first one ever, which would have been really awesome, they still were the first team to ever go back-to-back, and that's still an accomplishment. So it's one of these things where you kind of look at it like going to the States means that you had an amazing season. And to go all the way to the state title in 2 years, or being in the state tournament 2 years in a row is pretty great. So I hope that those kids hold their heads up, as they had pretty awesome season, pretty awesome stretch.
Yeah, they should be excited.
Yeah.
And then if we could, I just kind of wanted to talk for 2 minutes about the Cortica Jug game.
Oh
which
yeah.
Oh,
That was another
was
one.
an insane finish.
Yeah.
And I was actually walking in the Commons when the game happened, and I just heard an eruption from Mooney's. It was probably the loudest sound I've heard on the Commons other than construction for quite some time. And
Yeah.
so what happened was Cortland they were kicking a field goal to tie the game. They were down
Right.
20-17, and the
Yeah.
field goal holder fumbled the
Yeah.
snap and had it. They couldn't kick the field goal, picked it up and threw it for a touchdown to win the game. So
Yeah.
instead of tying the game and sending it to overtime, Cortland won on what was
It's like
started out as a mistake. So it was an
range of
insane
emotions.
finish.
Yeah, Steve Lawrence, his
Yes.
description of it is pretty hilarious, actually. If you want
So-
to read it.
Yeah,
That was-
it's a range of emotions. It's like, all right, as a fan, you're sitting there thinking, all right, now we're gonna tie this game on a field goal. They drop the snap. Oh, we're gonna lose. Oh, we just won. It's like,
And I think it was
Yeah.
the first time in Cortland's history that they've won the Jug 5 straight years. So.
yeah, and it's kind
Wow.
of. I mean, they were not really supposed to win that game. I mean, Ithaca has been really good this year, and
Right.
I think this is Cortland's second one of the season.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
it was a really nice way for them to end the season, and
Yeah.
kind of almost a win-win because I see that their season's still going on. They won their conference, and now they get some postseason football. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, maybe not a bad.
Yeah, Cortica's always
bad thing.
crazy. I don't know what brings
nothing-
out in these players that just the game always ends up being nuts. I mean, and afterward as well.
Right, and afterwards.
Was it
So-
bad this year? It wasn't bad this
Probably
year.
not.
I
I think
didn't-
that the police
yeah.
were really.
I'm sure after last season
they
they-
really kept the town locked down after last year. Last year was insane. Chris, you're also the Groton Independent
Yes.
reporter, and so we had a good story there this week. Habitat for Humanity. What happened?
Yeah, this on Saturday they dedicated a new house in Groton. The family officially moved in. 205 Barrow Street. It's the second house in Groton from Habitat. They're 207, the neighbors. They moved in and dedicated the house in December. So it was a long time coming. I mean, this house took 2 years to build. They said that they just, they had a bunch of houses they were working on. The weather got bad, and they couldn't really work in the winter and with all the, house things with
and the
cold.
the homeowners have to go through a lot in order to in order to get these houses. It's not really they get a mortgage, right?
Right. Yeah, I didn't really know much about how Habitat works with some of these families. When I was talking to the woman from Habitat, she was saying that basically like they start making these houses. They find a partner family. The family's got to be willing to put in 500 hours of sweat equity into the house.
Sweat equity, I like that.
That's the term. I thought that was clever. Yeah, so they got to have 500 hours. It doesn't have to necessarily be towards their house. It can be construction towards another house or raising money for Habitat. Yeah, I think they helped construct they helped with like a bake sale and helped with like a fundraiser thing at the house in Cortland. So there's a lot of ways you can put your hours in.
So you can put your hours into somebody else's house, so you can so you can get the crew to your house faster.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
So yeah, they moved in this weekend, and so now there's 2 houses Habitat in Groton, which is that's pretty cool.
And the house is still standing, as far as you know.
Yes.
They're
No
nice
snowstorm.
houses.
Weekend. That's right.
They're nice, and they're
Yeah.
They are. They're usually pretty solid.
They're new and they're pretty solid, and they now have a standard floor plan, which makes it go faster than it used to. They used to build the houses to fit the site, and then they decided that it would be quicker if we just standardize
Yeah.
it. So.
Yeah. Now that it's like a kit that they have. It's like this is
It's like Sears.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have heating. It's been pretty cold.
They have everything.
They have everything.
They're nice little
They're
houses,
spiffy
actually.
houses.
Yeah.
They are. And they have a mortgage, it's a low interest mortgage,
Right.
but it's also,
I see.
and they have to go through financial planning, training, and qualify for the mortgage and so on. So they're low income, but they have to be pretty solid in terms of paying back loans.
Yeah.
and so on.
It's not like Habitat. This is the quote was it's not like Habitat just gives houses away to poor people. Like they actually have to participate in paying for it and be grown-ups.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Well, then they have to keep the house too, because
Yeah.
they have to pay for the taxes and so on.
Although it's a low mortgage, it's still a mortgage.
Right. And speaking of taxes, some of our local towns are passing their budgets. Everybody's getting close to the wire. The town of Varick up in Seneca County passed their budget. It was a flat budget, no raises there. And I think Ovid did about the same thing. They're under the tax cap. They did not raise taxes, that is in the town. The schools may be raising taxes depending on their capital project. We'll talk about that next week after I get the story. You did Dryden town budget, a little bit of fracas in Dryden over the budget.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, Town Supervisor Marion Sumner called it a coup, is what's happening in Dryden. I guess the situation is in one of the earlier drafts of the town budget, they had taken some funding away from some youth services and community grants and from the highway department. And I guess she was under the impression that that draft of the budget was going to be the draft of the budget, and that was what they agreed on. So at the public hearing, this was on November 6th, probably a few weeks after they had come up with this draft, some residents said, hey, we'd kind of like some money back from these community
Right,
events.
youth services. They do a
community
lot with
grants.
that in Dryden.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I guess some young people and some parents were like, we'd like kind of that money back that you took away. And other residents said, we'd also like the money back to the highway department because, the main reason is because the roads, we want to make sure that they're not just going to fall apart. We want to and have to build new ones. We want to just upkeep the ones that we have that are in good shape already. So.
So they were
case.
fine with paying the taxes that were necessary.
Yeah.
for
That's
Well-
I talked to.
Yeah, they said go ahead
Yeah.
and raise the taxes. Don't
Yeah.
take it out of the fund balance.
Yeah, well, I talked to Councilman Jason Leifer, and he said that he had talked to Dryden residents who had told him we would rather pay the taxes to have the roads nice. So it seemed like residents were
Doesn't
okay
sound
with
like a
raising.
scientific poll to me.
I mean, that's what he told me.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Mary Ann Sumner, Dryden Town Supervisor has come under fire for this. Back in, I want to say 2009, the State Comptroller's Office told Dryden, you've got too much in your fund balance. They had about $10 million in their fund balance, talking about a town with an annual budget of around $7 million. So you're right, so they're required to spend it down. So they've been spending it down ever since. The difficulty is what are you spending it on? Are you spending it on one-time things, such as working on a garden for the town hall, or are you spending
Garden gnomes for the town hall.
Are you spending it on trucks for your highway department and other things that should
Correct.
come out of a regular maintenance budget?
Or roads, per
Yeah,
se.
Right.
I don't doubt that some residents would be okay with spending a little more in taxes if it meant getting rid of potholes. People take their potholes very seriously. In fact, I know the Ithaca City budget, they're adding $200,000 more dollars into BPW's budget for just asphalt.
Yeah.
Well,
How's that going over?
I'm in favor of that, but I think that the roads in Dryden are really not that bad.
No, they're not.
I mean, Jack French, who was the old highway supervisor, was really big on keeping the maintenance
Yeah.
up. But then he got voted out, so now they have Rick Young as the highway super. So that'll be an interesting story to follow. When is the next town board meeting?
It is November 20th, so
Thursday.
it'll be happening in about 2 hours once this show airs on Thursday.
I'm sure you're very excited.
I can't wait. Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
So what happens at that meeting?
I'm not sure. Just on the agenda.
Because they
it
haven't
says
passed the budget
They
yet.
Right,
will or they
right.
won't pass
Yeah.
the budget.
We'll be
And
talking about it for sure.
with those changes, maybe hitting the fund balance up for more money or less. I mean, the difficulty is if you don't raise taxes and then you
Right.
get to a point where your tax
Ithaca
rate
City
isn't
schools.
isn't enough to support your regular maintenance. So they did run into that problem in the town of Lansing. They actually cut their taxes by something like 15% in the town, and now they've used up that money and they're heading over a cliff because they don't have enough money for buying new equipment.
Yeah.
And so
Well, the
Lansing
bit-
town budget should be fascinating too.
Yeah, I actually think the town of Ithaca is also worried about that. They're headed into that trend because they've been dipping into their fund balance, and I know Supervisor Herb Engman has been worried about that as well.
Yeah, well, budget season, and the county passed its budget under the tax cap, and we'll check into all of that next week. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you around.